Welcome to SketchCraft Live Art Tips. We're going to do a little art tip today. This is very easy to do. So, when I'm streaming, people notice, Rob, you have a crap load of layers going on here. I mean, that's a shit ton of layers. Hey, you're constantly looking down to find the right one. And I want to show you how to quickly select layers. We're going to do something easy, and then we're going to work with a more complicated file. So for an easier file like this, when I'm drawing things, the easiest way to do this is Photoshop. This works in every version of Photoshop. Let's say you're drawing. You need to first hit the V key. The V is a shortcut for move. See the little move tool? When I hit V, it goes to the move tool. Once you're in the move tool, you can select Control, Alt, and then right-click on the item you want to jump to. So if I right-click to Billy Lee here, or Jimmy Lee, which one that is, see, it jumps right there. If I Control Alt to Jimmy, the other Double Dragon dude, watch, I'll jump to the mouse, I'll jump to the chicken dude, and then if I click on the queen, it'll jump to her. It's selecting the back right now. Some of the thinner lines can be a little trickier. Sometimes you have to zoom in. There, I got the arcade. Back to Jimmy, back to this. Now, this is pretty easy because there's really not a lot of atmospherics right now. Let me show you where it gets a little complicated. Let's say you're trucking along, you're airbrushing the shit out of your piece, you're coloring, and you got a ton of things like, let me go ahead and just delete hidden layers. You got a ton of things like darken layers, and if you're filling layers up with color that you're painting masks in, you maybe have little gradients and stuff. Well, when you do that, when you Control Alt select, it's going to immediately select the thing on top, the thing that's filling up the entire image, whether you see it or not. So in this case, it's selecting the purple because technically there's purple across this entire image. It's just only a bit of it's being masked in. In that instance, what you have to do is turn it off until you find that layer you want. So it can be a little bit more complicated towards higher end levels. Like I'll have to turn that off. Let's say I want to get to this glow. And then I made a merge version and we'll get to the glow. And then that is, oh, there, the glow's there. And a layer fill it black where I glowed. So in a more complicated file, if you got the time, take the time to try to label layers a little bit. So when you do jump, as you're turning things off, you jump to a layer, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's the glow layer. In this case, I tend to not do a lot of that on my own files because I know how these are set up. But if I was to hand this file off at work, that's what I would do. Also, when you turn layers off, make certain, let's say you have a bunch of, let me go to my history menu. You're turning layers off. Let's go to Window, History. Let me delete hidden layers. Now you can see I have a bunch of layers turned off already. Now if I go and select Robo and it gave me this layer right here filled with purple that's maxed out, I don't want that, right? I want to actually select him. If I turn that off, I'm going to keep working my way down. Turn that off. Turn that glow layer off. I'll turn that glow layer off. Turn that off. See, I got that there's a little atmosphere going on there. Eventually you'll work your way down. So the problem is, which layers did I turn off? See the problem there? You don't know what you turned off and on. If you eventually get to the layer, and then let's say you go to your history menu, and you're like, well, maybe I'll just make a snapshot and go back to that, it'll undo anything you did. So the way around that is, as you're turning things off on a complicated file, is either already delete all the hidden layers, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you have some hidden layers in there, because those are options you still want to pursue, anytime you turn a layer off, what I do, just to mark it, I'll just take that, turn it off. I'll lock it first. So this way, I know the lock layers needed to be turned back on. Just a little visual cue for myself. But that's in the higher level of area of coloring. To be honest, most people don't get there for a couple years. So, um, but sometimes you will set up a glow layer. So if you're wondering why you filled a layer with black, you set it to color dodge, and you want to select that gun instead, and it keeps selecting that layer, that's because technically black is being filled across the entire image. Just you're not seeing it because the layer property is set to color dodge. We'd have to turn that off, and then Control Alt, right click. Now, if you don't hit V first, you're going to run into a little bit of a problem. I had this today, someone brought it up. Let's say you're painting. Let's come back to here, especially like I'm drawing, right? Let's say I'm drawing, doing the digital paint, whatever. And I'm like, la di da di da da da. Let's go here, right? Do 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 do. And I'm like, oh, I want to select that guy really quick. And so I go Control Alt right click. Well, when you're in the brush tool, all it does is quick jump to resizing your brush. So you have to hit V to go to the move tool because you want to move to a layer. That's how I remember it. And then Control Alt right click. So when I was working in t-shirts, everything, there's no atmospherics and glow layers in t-shirts. All that was solid stuff in a layer. So it really makes a lot of, it really helps out when you have like 100 layers, you just want to jump around. This is why I don't worry about layers. I'm never like, I don't know what layer this is or that is or this is. When you get to the atmospherics, I don't need to jump around as much because I'm working on atmospherics. That's what this would be. Like I don't need to go over there and fix a lot of him when I get to the point where I got tons of atmospherics because I'm building up on top of that. But around the core area of coloring each individual character, like I wanted to select his eye, if I want to select his skin, all that, it's really, really, really beneficial to have that. Versus some people that just try to do everything on one layer. I don't know how that's possible. Photoshop gave you layers, folks. That's why we use them. So remember, when you're in Photoshop, just hit the V key, Control, Alt, right click, and then when you're ready to draw again, go back to the B key and you can draw. V key, select, B key, back to draw. Shortcuts are your friends. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them. Also, if you have any suggestions for things you'd like me to cover in future art tips, let me know. That's how I know what you want to know, folks. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.